No problem.
Yes.
Yes. Sans serif.
He's got a big slide that says the Musings about MuseScore. Just, alright, sounds good. Talk to you a bit.
They were using.
What do they call it? Trust but verify.
Yeah, I'm assuming you might have been in a different room earlier today, or
I was in this room, yes, but it was one of those moved rooms. Like I was supposed to be in one room over there for the first session, then over here.
I see.
But I preferred to use my own computer because I'll be doing some software demonstrations.
That's fair.
So,
Yeah, but it's,
If you
so
don't mind.
luckily they were able to make that
I
change.
think they're double checking that
Yeah.
people are right.
Yep.
so what does the LSP actually use?
So do you work for MuseScore, or do you just
Nope.
use it a lot?
Although it'll sound like I work for MuseScore the way I talk about it,
I
but
think it's dumb. It's pretty solid.
I'm a big advocate for it because I mean, in a lot of ways, it outperforms programs that you have to pay $300 for.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm a big advocate for it. So if enough of you guys, write a nice letter to MuseScore and say, Mr. Stoppenhagen did a very nice presentation, maybe they'll send me a check or something.
It's perfect for someone like me who doesn't work for someone who's going to pay for it.
Right,
Pay for it
yeah,
myself. So.
exactly,
And
yeah.
I know it do a lot, but it was wonderful to be introduced to it.
Yes, I think you'll hopefully get a lot out of this presentation. I do kind of wish, I mean, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to fill 45 minutes, but now I'm kind of wishing we had 90 minutes instead, because it turned out a lot of people had a lot of
Yeah,
questions.
next time.
Next time, next time.
So this is something that you've done.
This is a bulletin from my class.
Oh, okay.
It's just, it's so.
Let me look.
They used to haul photos in my church.
These what?
To haul them.
Oh,
I don't like it.
why?
That's just what they did, and they won't let me change it because that's what they're used to. I've changed enough since I got there.
That's BS.
I agree.
I don't like that you don't have the service builder font.
Yeah, I don't like the service builder font either.
I like the serif
Wait,
fonts.
you don't like the service builder font, or you do?
It's like a sans serif font, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no, I just meant that I don't like that, like the P and C symbols. You didn't use those. That's what I meant.
Let's see. That one's nice. I like those. Like
Baskerville is nice.
I love
I
Baskerville.
think Palatino is just a very nice, like middle of the road kind
Well,
of.
that's what they use for the headings.
Oh yeah. Oh, so they're used to that, right? So they should be used to that.
Well, it looks fancier, but no, I like.
So this is what the church that I was at was using.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It worked.
Better
It's
than
not. Well, but this was. But if they would have preferred to also have done like that, and then to bump it up a font size or two. I'm like, no, you're screaming at me from the page.
Honestly,
That was hideous.
I might try to convince them to put the L's close because I like that.
Well, you like these L's and
Yeah,
it's a font. You can download it.
I have because from the
Oh, okay.
I got kicked out and I'm not sure what happened. I'm assigned in on my pastor's account because they don't want to pay for a separate one when they're already paying for his.
Well, no. They can make you a new account on that, the new profile.
Well, they just happens. I'm not in control, so I don't have to do that. But I have to sign back in. I don't remember his email. I don't remember his password. So I don't have access to the service right now. Thank God.
I can add you to
Save
my
one
account.
after the
I
other or
shouldn't,
something.
but I can.
It's fine. I'll make them do it. They should do this. I work for them.
Yeah, so what you do is you go to account settings.
So what you're saying is I could do this for myself once I get this.
Yeah, so these are all the users on my account. Actually, I need to remove this user. This user no longer exists. See, I'm removing the user.
There they are. Hey, Ryan. Jeremy.
I'm like, wow, that was good.
So I can invite. So what's your email?
J Holloway knows. No, knows. 2 L's.
Mm-hmm. think it's
It's
just,
gonna be a long.
it's down the hall to the right.
St. Andrew's Lutheran School, no apostrophe, no S's. Sorry, yes, that's it. St.
Hello?
Andrew's Lutheran School. Dot org.
I don't even go there, this is just, I used to do Musings, but I made all this happen while I was there, and they don't use it, they just pay for it.
Jacob, I will say that I think that the default, whatever default settings they have in Lutheran Service Builder are just very unattractive.
They're bland.
They make very unattractive bulletins. That's my opinion. Trying to get an argument going here.
No, well, you know, I prefer to change everything over to, I have a typeface that I like to use for festival things, and then I just kind of use like a modified of the generic for like other things. I really don't care.
Yeah, this just looks like Time New Roman.
What?
Just looks like Time New Roman.
Right.
That makes me depressed.
If you're gonna do anything, do it in the part of my thing that says, in Jacob's plan.
Hello?
I'm not actually,
Planning
I'm not actually gonna say anything. All I do is like copy it.
Be over here, they only said the first one.
Well, because it's listed this way in the booklet, that this session is to be in here.
Supposed to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got an email at some point that with a room change.
Right,
Like-
yeah.
Like 2 emails saying this was in the second one.
So that's useful.
Yeah, for some reason, the first session this afternoon was to be in the union, and it was listed that way, and that this session, the 4 o'clock session, would be here. So the only one that needed changed was that first one. So that now both of them have taken, or the first one has taken place here in this room, and the second one is now taking place in this room. So,
What? Well, this was a festival, a service. So, yes, for festivals, otherwise,
okay, it is 4 o'clock. Come on in.
I'm sure of it, you know.
Jeremy, did you take the handout? One handout, just for me, you got it right.
There's plenty of them. Have anyone else coming in?
Spacing's up a little.
Doesn't look like it. Make yourselves comfortable. Buckle up and get ready for the ride. The MuseScore roller coaster. Okay, well, welcome. Thank you all very much for coming. I hope this is a beneficial and fruitful conversation. My plan is to talk a little bit about how I've used MuseScore in the past, and then hopefully we'll have time at the end of the session where I can demonstrate a few things for you in the program. This is going to sound, well, let me introduce myself first. My name is Joel Stoppenhagen. I just graduated from Valparaiso University with a degree in music education, and I will be starting a degree at, come on in, sit down, make yourselves comfortable. I'll be starting a degree in the fall at Notre Dame, a master's of sacred music with an emphasis in organ performance. So I'm going to move to South Bend as soon as we're done with LSM here, so it's going to be a quick turnaround. This is going to sound an awful lot like a sales pitch for MuseScore, and in many ways it is, but I'm not getting paid for it. I just really like this program. And I will say, this is my disclaimer, I used to be a MuseScore hater. I thought that a lot of the scores made on MuseScore just looked terribly ugly, and I just didn't want anything to do with it. And so I used a program called LilyPond. Has anyone ever heard of LilyPond? Of course you haven't. It's like it's just a small niche community that uses LilyPond, and it's like you write out software code and that prints out a score for you. It's really weird. Finally, MuseScore updated about 2 years ago, and we had been on MuseScore 3 for a long time, and then they upgraded to MuseScore 4 after they got a team of really good developers and composers involved. And now, by default, the results that you get from this program are just excellent in terms of engraving quality, spacing, layout, all these things. And I think for our purposes as church musicians, it is incredibly practical, and it's free. It is free. We're going to get to that in a second. First, I want to read the room a little bit. How many of you already use MuseScore? I do. How many of you use Finale? Okay. Anyone use Sibelius? Sibelius? Anyone use Dorico? Dorico. All right. Let's do a little cost comparison real quick. Finale. Retail price. Does anyone know?
Per year.
$299 retail. Not too bad. And for religious institutions, $99. That's not too bad for all the frustrations you have to deal with in Finale. That is a little shade being thrown. Sibelius has adopted the subscription model, like a lot of software companies, Adobe, Microsoft. How much is that for an annual subscription? Anywhere from $200 to $335 per year. Whoa. For a program that crashes nonstop. And again, that's shade, sorry. I should stop doing that. Dorico. How much does it cost, Jordan?
I paid $99 for the student version.
Oh, okay. So that's like Dorico Essentials, right?
It's the full thing, I just have a student discount.
There we
I think
go.
It's like $600 retail.
The full retail price is $579.
Yeah.
The thing that I like the most about MuseScore, it's free. It's totally free, everything about it. I should make this distinction right away. If you're going to exit this workshop and go download it on your computer, go to musescore.org, not musescore.com. Musescore.com is their sheet music sharing page, and you can pay for scores that somebody else has made, and you can have a subscription to that. That's not what we're looking for. We want musescore.org. That's where we get the music notation software. Totally free, everything about it, including the new audio engine called MuseSounds. I'll give you a sample of that in a few minutes because it's just incredible. Okay, it's free. You don't have to pay for programs that, at this point, MuseScore is at a level where it's nearly outperforming Finale and Sibelius. It's either at the same level or beyond what they are capable of. Hasn't surpassed Dorico because Dorico is quickly becoming the industry standard. It is very, very user-friendly. It's easy for beginners. So if you're someone who hasn't really done a whole lot with notation software, MuseScore is a very good place to start. At the same time, you still get very professional-looking results. Like I said, with MuseScore 4, which is what we're dealing with today, greatly improved engraving quality. There are all manner of videos on YouTube about what they've done. If you look at their YouTube channel, you can see what they've done in terms of engraving quality and different features they've added. Another reason why I really like it is that it's easily customizable. For example, if you look at the cheat sheet I gave you, you've got all these different keyboard shortcuts. You can remap any of these. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the numbers across the top of the keyboard, that's how you can select a rhythm. So say I want to put in a quarter note. By default, you press 5. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I wanted a quarter note to be 4. So I remapped that. So now if I hit 4, I get a quarter note. 5 is half note, 6 is whole note, etc. So you can remap these things to meet your needs. Another thing that's notable about MuseScore is that it's an open source program, which means that there is a team of developers that's working on it, but there are also people outside of those developers that are working on the program and developing it. And in a lot of cases, it's people like you, composers, who are really invested in this program and want to see it meet the needs of users like us. There are constant improvements happening. Some of the other programs, those improvements happen, but they happen at a much slower pace. In MuseScore, it's very easy to export PDF files, MP3 files that the audio engine creates. Music XML is important if you want to interact with other notation programs. For example, Finale, Sibelius, Dorico, they can all read Music XML, and so can so can MuseScore. So that's important to note. Do you have a question?
My question is.
Feel free to ask questions, by the way.
The people that are working on this,
Mhm.
and it's free, how are they making a living, and when is it going to start?
Someone asked that the last time. I'm
Selling classes.
They've got classes. They do have a like a tutorial set up where you can sign up for a subscription and you can get these tutorials. Also MuseScore.com. We don't want MuseScore.com, but that's a way that they make money through this score sharing system where you can. And they just partnered with like Hal Leonard, and so did you hear about that? Yeah, so they've partnered with Hal Leonard, and so now Hal Leonard scores are available on MuseScore.com. That's kind of their cash cow. So that's how I think how they're able to keep afloat. It's a big company, actually, believe it or not. And it's just amazing to me that this is free. I was going to say that, you know, if you're writing for publishing companies, Augsburg Fortress, Concordia. Usually they ask for a Finale score, or a Finale file, or a Sibelius file. I just wrote something for Augsburg Fortress and submitted Music XML, and I haven't gotten a nasty email from David Sims yet. So I assume they were able to read it. I guess we'll find out.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I don't use any music software, but back when I was involved in the handheld group, people are having trouble with Finale laying out, 3, 4, 5 blocks of handbells because it's two scores plus you want middle Steve always to be on top of the bass score. Do they have kind of templates for it in MuseScore for handbell arrangements yet?
We can check that. I haven't written anything for handbell, but like I said, MuseScore has gotten to a place where everything is so customizable that you could set something like that up and then save that as a default style or as your own template, and then you would be able to pull that up each time you're starting a new arrangement for handbells. We'll have to look at that because now I'm curious. Okay, this might be the MuseScore that you're familiar with. Very gray and sad and uninspiring. Who wants to compose on something that looks like that? But a lot of this stuff has been retained for MuseScore 4. For example, we have the palettes on this side, containing all your symbols and everything that you would use in your score. Notes at the top for note input, accidentals, and whatnot. A lot of stuff is hidden in here, though, and you have to go hunting for it. Up in style, usually, edit, notes. A lot of this has been simplified with MuseScore 4, yes?
Is there an easy, like a Finale has quick start or easy?
Well, just you wait.
Okay.
You're gonna love this. Okay, drum roll, please. Ta-da! Dark mode. Everybody loves dark mode, right? You don't have to do dark mode. You can do dark or light mode. I've got it set up so it looks like Dorico, except I'm saving $600. You know, the black background and the red accents and everything. This is a edition of a piece by Philip Gehring that I'm working on. I found a manuscript of his. So as you can see, we've still got palettes on the side here. But in addition to the palettes, we've also got an instruments tab. That's all the instruments in your score. You can quickly hide one instrument by just I'll demonstrate in a minute. You can quickly hide one instrument or two instruments, or you can rearrange them simply by clicking and dragging them. It takes 2 seconds.
How did you select this dark mode?
It's in, if you go to Edit at the top and Preferences. Edit, then Preferences, and then somewhere in there it should be, we'll have to look, but it's in Preferences, okay? And then in Properties, it used to be that in MuseScore 3 you would have to select one note or one element of the score, right-click it, and then go to Edit Element, and then it would give you all the properties of that element, and then you can change them. Now you can select a whole thing of notes, click Properties, and you can change the properties of all those notes at once, and it's all just right there, very fast. You can adjust these palettes as you see fit. For example, maybe I don't use like anything from here down. I can just remove those, and they go to the More box, okay? And you can just adjust those as needed. You can rearrange them as needed. I keep time signatures, key signatures at the top and clefs because those are the first things you do. Tempo, text, lines, bar lines, etc. Let's go on because I really want to show you the most exciting aspect of MuseScore 4. And I've got that on my phone. Okay, you all know what MIDI instruments sound like, right? It's your favorite thing to listen to.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, so here's before Muse sounds. This is me doing my best Vaughan Williams impression. Very slow ritardando, then a long fermata. Okay, that was before. Here is after Muse sounds. Wow.
So that's responding to the dynamics that you place in the score yourself?
Yes, yeah, so it does respond to dynamics and everything, which I found out some programs don't do very well. Did I mention this is free? Can you believe that? All those sounds and everything, even though it takes up like 20 gigabytes on your hard drive, it's free. Maybe not that much. Here's what the choir sounds like. And so it takes into account that when a choir sings louder, their tone changes a little bit, right? And so it realizes that in the playback. And I just think it's awesome. Let's go on here. Okay, I wanted to give you a few examples of things that I've done in MuseScore in a practical church music making context. So, first of all, something like a psalm refrain like this, okay? On the screen, it appears a little more squished. It's changing the aspect. It's actually a little bit wider. I did this for a friend's wedding. And one of the nice things about MuseScore, like I said, under the Instruments tab that I pointed out, I can just make the keyboard part invisible. I can make the keyboard part invisible, leaving just the voice part, which I can then snip out, copy, and put into my service booklet. It's very simple. Go on to the next thing. You have a question? Oh. You can do simple hymnic things like this. Note input is very fast, so to actually put in the 4 parts doesn't take too long. With any program, typing in the text takes a while. So that part took the longest, but making sure you get all the syllables divided correctly. For example, this setting by Hans Leo Hassler from a collection called Kirchengesang, we did this in alternation with the congregation singing LSB 555. So the congregation did 1 and 2, choir did 3 in this setting. And I was able to print this out as a PDF and get the LSB setting done up, also in MuseScore, and have them on a 11 by 17 sheet, so they were facing each other, so the choir had it all right there. That took some finagling. You got to know how to work your copier if you want to do that. Any Anglican chant people in the room? Okay. Very easy to make Anglican chant. You can add double bar lines by using the bar lines palette. You just click on the bar line, click the double bar line, and there it is.
Joel?
Yes?
Can you use a keyboard?
You can use a keyboard to input. And somebody asked this earlier, and I'm actually not sure, because I don't use a keyboard to do input. I don't know if you can do live input yet. I know it was possible in MuseScore 3 to do live input where you start it, and then you play and it records everything on the notation. But it is compatible with MIDI keyboards, so you can do input that way. My preference right now, because I don't have a MIDI keyboard, is to just use the computer keyboard, because A, B, C, D, E, F, G are all in your left hand. So it's not too difficult. And if you're good enough, you can get the rhythms in your right hand on the number pad, and you can just... I haven't figured that out. But okay, so Anglican chant, if you're into that. Okay, so you can also do stemless notation like this. This can really come in handy if your congregation does a lot of chanty type of things. So I worked at a church in Chesterton, just north of here. We're kind of old school, and we use the one-year lectionary, and we use the Gregorian psalm tones for the introit. And so from a Gregorian notation, I transcribed this into this kind of simplified stemless notation. So we could sing this as the antiphon before and after the introit. By the way, take note of these things if you want me to demonstrate any of this at the end of our session. Yes, Jacob.
So what was your reason for using the dotted instead of having the double note head?
I don't really know.
I just wondered, because you can do a voice 3 that will create a double note head.
Well,
So.
or better yet, and if I were doing this again, what I would do instead is doing a hollow note head right here. I think that's a little clearer than putting an augmentation dot there at the end. I did not do that over again for the sake of this presentation. I figured you guys understand. Okay, let me give you a few quick tips for success with MuseScore, but also other programs, okay? This should apply to everybody. Become familiar with your keyboard shortcuts. They will save you so much time in any program. And beyond that, you should also customize your keyboard shortcuts so that it's just easier for you. I already gave you the example of how, by default, quarter note is 5. And I was constantly fighting MuseScore because I would think, oh, quarter note 4. Oh, that just gave me an 8th note. Customize things so that it's simple for you. On your handout, I gave you all of the most frequently used keyboard shortcuts in MuseScore. most frequently used by me, that is, okay? These are my preferences, okay? These are the ones that I use the most often. Visible and invisible. You use that when you're writing settings of the Credo. That was a joke, by the way. Okay, yes.
Enter line break, you put your cursor on the score. And
Yes.
you have it in any, what kind of note entry do you have it selected at that point to be able to get that key?
I will demonstrate that for you at the end, because we're going to talk a little bit about score layout. And that line break and page break really come in handy when you're trying to get spacing right. Because your score might be very light on top, then have a section in the middle that is just so scrunched together that you don't want to read it or look at it. And then at the end, you have like one measure across the bottom of the score. So you can fix those things. So I'll demonstrate that at the end of the session. And someone remind me to demonstrate how you add lyrics in MuseScore, because I forgot to mention that in the last one. It's very simple in MuseScore. Okay, familiarize yourself with your keyboard shortcuts no matter what program you use. Okay, the snipping tool. This is the one thing that I have to lament about MuseScore 4. In version 3, they had a screenshot tool where you just click the little camera in the top of the screen and you click and drag over what you want to export, and it makes this nice, perfect little JPEG or PNG, and you can make it transparent if you want to, and you just copy and paste it and it looks perfect in your service booklet. That has not made its return to version 4, but it will, because I've checked the development notes, and that will be coming in a future version, so fingers crossed, okay? So, for now, what you do is use the snipping tool, which comes with Windows computers. Mac people, sorry, I don't know. I don't know what you guys use. You do, okay, yes. Excellent, Jacob.
Aren't you able to also download like, the whole page as a graphic, as like a PNG or a...
You could, yeah, but this is faster.
Okay.
This is much faster.
I find the other way to be cleaner.
Because it will be cleaner if you do it that way, but this is faster.
Okay.
And in the end, it won't matter all that much,
Okay.
because the printer, churches don't always have nice printers. Okay, in MuseScore, if you go to the Publish tab at the top of the page, I'll demonstrate that, it makes a print preview. So it'll show you what the score will look like if you were to print it or to export it as a PDF. It gives you a cleaned up version, which you can then use this snipping tool to just drag across it, copy into your Surface booklet, okay? Or wherever you're gonna put it. You can also do this in other programs. If you generate a PDF, open it in your PDF viewer, do the same thing with the snipping tool, it's easy. One thing that I would beware of is making sure that the scaling of your score in Finale, MuseScore, Sibelius, whatever, is the same as the scaling of your bulletin, okay? So for example, if my service booklet is a half sheet this way, so letter size in half, I want to set up my score in MuseScore so that it's how many inches across? 5.5 inches across, so that I get the scaling right. Hymnal staff spacing is about 1.5 millimeters between the lines. So like for example, that Hostler setting, which I showed you, I did it deliberately at hymnal size so that if someone said, this is really small, we can't read this, I would say, well, it's the same size as the music in the hymnal, and you read that each Sunday. So use that to safeguard yourself. I wouldn't go much smaller than that. But all that to say, make sure the scaling of your score matches that of your service booklet so that, you know, if you set something up in letter size and then drop it into your half letter bulletin, it'll get shrunk down, okay? Set up a default style no matter what program you're using. It's relatively simple to do in MuseScore. If you go to Format and Style, it unleashes this giant dialog box with almost too many options, but there's a few that you'll always come back to. For example, how often are you going to be adjusting your vibrato lines? Not that often. Text styles is one that you'll use often. Measures, and then the page settings. And we can look at that too. Go back to my notes here. Like I said, just make sure things are consistent with your service booklets. Typefaces, especially. You can change the typeface of whatever text or lyrics you're writing with your music. And then you can save that as a default, and every time you open MuseScore, it'll open to that default, so you don't have to worry about it ever again. I have several styles set up for different needs. So if I'm making a choral score, I have a default for that. Instrumental music, I have a default for that. You get the idea. And you can save those styles and load them right under that format dialog. Okay? We already talked about that. Setting default text styles is important. And so you can set a default text style for title, subtitle, composer, lyricist, translator, frames, instrument names for a part, the long name, the short name, instrument changes, headers, footers, measure numbers, everything. It's a little overwhelming. But you won't be using half that stuff, so no worries. Okay, I'm going to skip over this and talk about resources. 4:28, we've got about 15 minutes. So these are my recommended resources. If you want to make some good-looking engraving, these are also on the bottom of your handout. Just look at some sheet music from reputable engravers. Go open your Bach Barenreiter score and take a look at how they do spacing, how they do text underlay, how they do page layout, all that kind of stuff. Barenreiter, Breitkopf, Peters, Schott. IMSLP is your friend. Just find some mid-20th century score that looks nice and take notes on that. Margins, page size, page ratio. Maybe this is getting a little too geeky. That's the kind of stuff I'm into, at least. Do not go to cpdl.org, the Choral Public Domain Library. Unless you're looking for bad examples, then go to cpdl.org. There's a lot of really bad-looking music on there. A lot of useful stuff, but it all kind of looks really crummy. So go to IMSLP and look at some old, like hand-engraved editions. There's this book by Elaine Gould called Behind Bars, The Definitive Guide to Music Notation. It's like the large catechism for music engravers. It's got just everything. It's got everything you can imagine regarding text, layout, all these things I mentioned. It's kind of pricey. I don't actually have a copy of it myself because it's pricey, but it would be worth getting. Another thing you could consult is the Facebook group called Music Engraving Tips. If you want to get like 10 smart aleck comments and 2 actually helpful comments, you can post something on that Facebook group. It's like any Facebook group, okay? That's just how it is. But you can get some really good help on there. There's also a MuseScore specific Facebook group that I failed to mention up here. That would be most helpful if you have a MuseScore specific question. If you are just getting into this program for the first time, I would recommend a YouTube playlist called MuseScore Studio in Minutes. It has everything that you need to start setting up scores, using the score wizard, inputting notes, making parts and things like that. Okay, so I want to do a few demonstration things. So we already had one question about layout things. So I'm going to exit out of the one that I had opened earlier. And I'm going to open this little ditty that I wrote on Es flog ein kleines Waldvögelein. Takes a minute. Okay. For piano solo, it's in two parts. We have an introduction and accompaniment. I'm looking at this right now, and I don't like it. Why don't I like it? The spacing is just horrendous. Okay, first of all, we've got the two parts, an introduction right here. The accompaniment starts right here. Do we really need those two do we need a page turn right at the beginning of the accompaniment? No, I don't think so. So let's just rectify that right away by clicking on this measure right before the accompaniment. We'll look at Mr. Stoppenhagen's handy keyboard shortcuts. And it looks like we can do a page break by clicking Control-Enter. Boom! Wow. Already much better. Okay? Okay, now I'm looking at this first page, and I still don't really like it all that much because I've got 3 measures on the bottom, and in that middle system we've got 5 measures, and it looks really crammed because it's all contrapuntal and messy. So let's just try and fix that. So we've got roughly 24 measures from here to here. Okay, I'm gonna, let's see, we've got 5 systems. So we'll say roughly 4 measures per system. Let's, actually we'll say 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we'll say 4. That'll work better. Okay, so now we've got 4 full measures on top. 4 full measures here, that should be fine. This is still looking really cramped. All I'm doing is clicking on the measure and pressing Enter. That makes a line break. Clicking on that measure, Enter. I like this better than I liked it before. I don't really like this at the bottom. Maybe we can fix that. Maybe at the top we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's fine because that's pretty light. 4 measures here, 4 measures here, 4 measures here. There. So now each of these has, these middle ones have 4 measures, and this one has 5, and that's acceptable because the last measure is just whole notes. Is that better? Better than it was before? Definitely. Okay, now for this hymn accompaniment page. And how long did that take us? That took us all of 30 seconds, right? To just lay that out so it looks much better. And it's easier to read. And that's why we do this. That's why we worry about layout, because ultimately we want it to be easier for people to read. Okay, do we know this tune? Bum ba dum bum bum ba da dum bum ba dum bum bum bum. Why don't we just break it right there? Oh, and that sounds really bad. Bum ba dum bum bum ba da dum bum ba dum bum bum bum. Line break. Bum ba dum ba da dun da dun dun da dun 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 dum. Bum ba dum bum bum ba da dum bum ba dum bum bum bum. It's a little more elaborate than that, but there we go. So we've still got an awful lot of white space in this page, and it doesn't totally match the other page, which is a little bit tighter, but it looks a lot better than it did before. And at least this way, it's smartly laid out so that we've got one phrase on each line. Question? Yeah.
What do you think to move the pickup note to the next line?
You can do that. Let me show you how. Okay, so we're looking at this right here. So here's our pickup note. If we go into this tools dialog right here, measures. These are our measures tools. We're going to split this measure right before the selected note. Well, that doesn't look right. Just you wait. Click on that. Line break. Okay. That still doesn't look right. We need to make this line to be gone. Okay? So, using Mr. Stoppenhagen's handy-dandy, most frequently used keyboard shortcuts, we'll notice that we can make something visible or invisible by pressing V. It's gone. It's in 2 parts, so we have to do it twice. Now, if I look at my Publish tab up here, this gives us our print preview. There we go. So now we've got that pickup, and it starts up again right here. I don't think there's a way that you can set that up by default, though.
No.
Okay. But if you really desire to have that pickup right here on the end of the first system,
Well,
you
I
can
would
do that.
just rather move-
Oh, wait, I did that wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah. Move it to the next system.
Oh, darn it. All right, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z.
Thank God for Control Z.
Yeah, so we want this. Oops. 1, 2, 3. Here we go.
Yes.
That's what you wanted.
Yes.
Visible, invisible. There we go. Problem solved. Print preview, make sure it looks okay. Okay, so that's one way of doing that. I mentioned earlier how easy it is
So
to
you clicked in order to move just that single note.
just enter. Just
But
enter.
You clicked, where did you click to get that single note?
All right, so even though I've made this bar line right here invisible, it still recognizes it there. So I've selected this measure right here. So when I click enter, it'll place the line break
So-
right here.
So I missed that, so you created an extra
Yep.
bar line there.
Yes, there is.
beforehand.
Yes, that's right. We did that by going up to Tools and Measures, splitting the measure before a selected note or rest. Okay? And that's how we accomplish that. Okay? I want to demonstrate just a few more things before our time runs out in 7 minutes. Yeah, I know. It just goes so fast. Okay, so this is what I was showing you earlier, this little psalm refrain. You'll notice that I've made a few things invisible. I had a time signature on here, but who needs time signatures? You click on it, invisible, and now it's invisible for all instruments. I had andante on here, but we don't really need that if we're putting it in the bulletin, right? Invisible, visible, invisible by pressing V. Okay, if I go to my print preview under the Publish tab, looks nice. Am I going to put all of this in my bulletin? No. So I'm going to go back here to my instruments. This is a bad example because if you set this up with the score wizard, it'll show the instrument names. I don't know what I did to this that it doesn't show those. But this one right here is the keyboard. This one's the voice. So I can just click on that. It's gone. There we go. Let me show you how the snipping tool works. Here it is in my recent because I use it so frequently. Make sure I'm in rectangular mode. I'm going to make a new one. There it is. Control C to copy. And, oh, there's one I already made from earlier. Let's paste it again. There you go, right into your service booklet. Okay, I want to show you how to underlay text. No, I don't want to save the snip. Yes, I believe so. Does anyone know Mac people?
Yeah.
Command C to copy.
I just didn't know if the program wrote
I
the.
don't think so, but I don't know for sure.
The command's all, they're still the same, it's just
Yeah.
adding on top of that.
Got it.
Okay, so let us go to another example. Maybe we can just make a new example. When you select Create a New Score, you will get a dialog box. You were asking about this, weren't you? Here we are. We've got 2 options. You can choose your own instruments, or you can use a template. Was it someone in here that asked about handbells? Yes. Let's find out if they have handbell ensemble. Would it be under popular? Bluegrass band, those aren't popular anymore. require? Handbell? Nothing. No handbell template, but
Like you said, you make your own.
so you can create your own.
Oh, I know what the other thing was, if you know handbells, there's a bells needed chart at the top.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. With a clef and then it shows which notes are in the piece.
My,
Yeah, Finale has it. Yeah.
my guess is that someone has made what they call a plugin for MuseScore that you can download that does something like that. I can't tell you for sure, though, because I haven't done a whole lot of handbell stuff. But that interests me. Okay, back to what we were doing. We're not going to do handbell stuff right now. We have a number of templates, and you're probably not looking at jazz or solo. We're looking at choral. Okay, so these are our options. We can do just a plain old SATB score, SATB plus organ plus piano, SATB closed, which is the one that I use the most frequently. You use that for hymn style stuff. Closed plus organ, closed plus piano. Barbershop quartet, anybody in church? There's also this liturgical unmetrical. I have not played around with this, but you can kind of assume how it is to be used. Yes, Jacob?
It just doesn't give you the time signature.
There's no time
So
signature.
time signatures are automatically invisible.
Why don't we just go with this? Let's see what happens. This will be something new for me. Let's pick a... Well, I was thinking Divinum Mysterium, but let's go with a fun key like E flat major. We'll say Divinum Mysterium. That should be enough. Done. Here we are. See, now this confuses me. Why are there bar lines? Do you know, Jacob? If it's unmetrical?
It's a phrasing thing, but I'm not sure why.
At any rate, we're going to put in notes. So I'm going to click on N, Mr. Stoppenhagen's shortcuts. N puts us into note entry mode. We don't want it that high. Down the octave. Dum pum 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 pum.
You're just typing in letter names, right?
Yeah. I can do it with one hand. Da, 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 da.
That's very frequently.
Okay? So we'll just begin with that. Okay?
And then you can erase the bar lines if you didn't want to make them invisible.
I can make them invisible. But now there's this awkward space in here. So here's what I'm going to do instead. This is getting into the weeds a little bit. Da 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 dum. Let's make that a half note. And I'm going to delete the rest of this. I'm going to, using my measures tools, I'm going to split here, because I want a bar line to be right here. And I'm going to take these measures, join them together. All right, see what I've done? Now, watch this. Now I've just selected this whole measure. I told you about this wonderful Properties tab. So now it gives me all these options about the measure, options about the notes. I can change the note heads so they're all X's, so they're all pluses. I don't even know what half this stuff is. Let's just go with good old regular note heads. And we can make them small note heads, big note heads. We can hide the note heads. We can go to the stem, because we want stemless. That's pretty nice. Okay, let's do some lyric input. We're already a little bit over time, so I'll do this quickly. Of the fa,
So you just take the short
fa. I have a computer or a website that does this for me because I cannot do this. Father, oops, go back. There's love be God. Ten. We want a slur, don't we, right here?
Yes.
S. There's our slur. And that's in Mr. Stoppenhagen's most frequently used keyboard shortcuts. Okay? This is looking a little tight right here. So let's just put a line. That's looking a little too wide. Just for the sake of example, here's this. Okay? That's how easy lyric input is. Control L. Let's say, for example, I've got a second stanza. If you want to add multiple words to one note, Control space. Did I put that on there? I did not. That might be one worth add. Wait, I did add that. When adding lyrics, put several words under a single note head by using Control space. Okay? Of.
That's been one I've been trying to figure out, so thank you.
Yes. Word. Okay, that looks really bad. So what I'm going to do is click on that, and under the Properties tab, justify left. That's how you can do chant stuff, or chanting tone things. Okay, we are sadly out of time, but this is just a few things that you can try. Feel free to email me. It's on the handout. That's all I've got for you. Thank you. Okay. I don't think so. I don't think so. It should be perfectly fine to download it, even if you already have notation software on there. So.
I have a question.
Yes.
I haven't used MuseScore for a while, and I looked at it before we came here, and I'm 3.5. How do I get to 4?
Oh, so you'll just go to the MuseScore.org website, and it should be like in big letters, download MuseScore, and it won't replace MuseScore 3.5 or whatever on your computer, but it'll be downloaded and installed in addition to MuseScore 4. But then it should come up on the desktop, and you can just run it that way. And it will open previous MuseScore files as well.
Okay.
So, yep. Yes, I'm glad it helped. Thank you. Oh, thanks.
Wonderful presentation from as a self-declared pro at MuseScore.
Oh.
As you might say, your thoughts on this engraving.
Is that even the LSB font, or what is this?
It's Times New Roman, which is, LSB.
Is that the typeface?
It has to be at this point. I can't find any